This is the Truth and Taxation hearing for the Community Consolidated School District Board of Education, 46. This evening, Wednesday, November 20th, beginning at 6 p.m. here at Frederick School. I need a call to order via roll call, please.
Mack.
Here.
Braden.
Here.
Nash. Absent. Albert.
Here.
LaCroix.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Weedman.
Here.
Shar. Here. Bischoff.
Here.
And Keski.
Welcome this evening to our student board representatives. Glad to have you at the table. That does establish our quorum for the evening. Please join me for the pledge. Thank you. I need a motion to approve this evening's taxation hearing agenda, please.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay.
Miller.
Aye.
Albert.
Aye.
Mack.
Aye.
Weedman.
Aye.
Braden.
Aye.
And LaCroix.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. That brings us to Mr. Wildman, who has our 2024 tax levy presentation.
Boy, you guys in for a treat. Okay, public hearing, the final 2024 property tax levy, commonly known as the Truth in Taxation hearing. This is 58% of our funding, so it does all these things. It empowers our learners, it creates equity, and it cultivates community, and it's the largest part of our funding source amongst everything that we receive. Okay, the strategic plan and board policy, we have a strategic plan goal, which is called our finance goal, and that is to review, expand, and clarify financial practices to increase transparency and communication. And we also have a board policy to maintain an operating fund balance of 25 to 30%. Here's the timetable of the levy itself. As you can see, we have the public hearing and adoption this evening on November 20th. We've been through various steps. We've had the preliminary discussion of the proposed timeline on September 18th. We presented the proposed tentative property tax levy presentation on October 16th. The day after that, we did the legal notice, the public notice, in the Daily Herald. And after the levy is adopted tonight, it will be filed with Lake County before the last Tuesday of the fiscal year, of the calendar year, I'm sorry, which is December 24th. So a little recap, this is the budget recap. Again, 58% of our funding comes from property taxes, and this is where our money goes. It goes to salaries, it goes to benefits, and it goes to purchase services. That's around 75%, which is people. That's all our teachers, it's all our staff, it's GSF, it's our food service, it's everybody who works every day with our students. Okay, we have the tax levy itself, which is the amount of money that a district requests to be raised from property taxes. Then we have the limiting rate, which is the aggregate rate in which the county clerk can extend taxes for government funds subject to PTEL. PTEL is the amount that we can actually extend. It's called the extension. We have CPI, which is the inflationary amount that we're able to levy to PTEL, and then we have the equalized assessed valuation. Okay. All right, so the limiting rate. The limiting rate this evening is a special rate that we're actually able to levy based on the result of the limiting rate referendum on March 19th. The board had 3 meetings on September 18th, October 1, and October 8th, and the board has decided to levy $42,651,732. Excuse me. Okay. Thank you. At the October 16th regular board meeting, the Board of Education was presented with the proposed tentative levy extension, and the district will abate $7.8 million of debt service payments for fiscal year 24. So, the 2024 tax rate was 4.927. The voters approved 4.8018 on March 19th. The rate which was which was presented as the tentative levy, thank you, was 4.492, which is a levy extension of 42,651,732. That is a 26.3% increase over last year's extension, and that is the levy presentation for you this evening. Oh, I got one more. This is the best one. It is Public Act 1020895. The district has to disclose our cash balance as of the time of the levy and our upcoming debt payment. Do you have any questions from the board?
Thank you, Mr. Wildman.
Thank you.
This does bring us to the public comments section of the Truth and Taxation hearing. Do we have?
There are no public comments.
There are no public comments signed up. Okay. Okay. I would like to call for an adjournment of the Truth and Taxation hearing, and then we will re-adjourn into the regular board meeting for the rest of the evening.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Albert,
Aye.
Weedman,
Aye.
and Braden.
Aye.
Okay, that meeting is adjourned, and now I would like to call to order the regular board meeting for the evening with a roll call.
Mack,
Here, still.
Braden,
Still here.
Albert,
Here.
LaCroy,
Here?
Miller,
Here.
Weedman,
Here.
Shar.
Here.
Share, Bischoff,
Here.
and Keski.
Here.
Great.
Okay, once again, welcome to our student members this evening. Thank you for sitting at the table with us. I do need a motion to approve the agenda for the regular board meeting, please.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay,
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
aye.
Albert,
Aye.
Weedman,
Aye.
Braden,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Okay, thank you, motion approved. This brings us to the public comments and.
Still none.
Okay, still no public comments. And now I'll hand over the presentation from our wonderful Grays Lake Middle School Way of the Panther students for this evening's presentation.
I apologize. We have a couple of students that were unable to make it tonight, so we're doing a quick little shift of who's going to be taking what slides tonight, which they're all very capable of doing and excited to do as well. So as always, thank you very much for the invitation, for allowing us to bring our wonderful GMS students. Our Way of the Panther is a leadership team that consists of 23 students, and we have 9 of them here with us tonight. Very excited to be part of this presentation. So I'm going to get out of the way, and we're going to let that happen.
Hi, I'm Allie Schultz, and the Way of the Panther is a group of GMS students and educators that value leadership, productivity, and teamwork. We want to help make every voice, big or small, heard, and our goal is to better GMS for the future.
Hi, I'm Augustine Lagunas. The Way of the Panther members were selected by volunteering through a Google form that asked us to define leadership in our own way and why we would like to be a part of this leadership team. We were also asked on how we'd work to improve our school and our community.
Hi, I'm Layla Wells, and at this point we've had 5 full group meetings and a few small group meetings to brainstorm and discuss what we are planning to accomplish for our school this year. All of us are very excited to make our school better and to ensure that everyone at Grays Lake Middle School feels safe and welcomed.
Hello, I'm Elise McCowan, and here are some of the ideas we've had so far.
Hello, my name is Ava Keski, and our first idea on how to make GMS a better place for all is working on our anti-bullying / no place for hate movement. We will work with our deans, Ms. Palmer and Ms. Julian, to expand on our no place for hate expectation to teach the students that bullying is never okay.
Hello, I'm Alyssa Bischoff, and today we are here to present student-led tutoring. This is where 8th grade students with higher academic skills assist their peers that might need help on a certain subject.
If you are a part of student-led tutoring, SLT, if you are a tutor, you may have to leave your class to go and help another student during that student's win time. SLT will also be supervised by a teacher who is willing to help out.
Students can be recommended by teachers or their guardians to become a tutor or to be tutored, and students will be paired together so they can work with each other so students can get the help that is necessary for them.
Hi, I'm Paola Flores,
I'm Freddie Shar.
and we would like to work on advisory. We'll work with our staff members like Mr. Gross, Mr. Smith, Ms. Julian, Ms. Palmer, and Ms. Blackburn to further understand our current advisory program.
During advisory, students can more utilize their cooperation and I apologize. Can more utilize their cooperation skills that can be used during middle school, high school, and in a future work environment.
We'd like to incorporate more activities that are more engaging and help refocus all students, allow them for a better use of our advisory time.
Based on the feedback we've had from our peers, we have decided that this is the best course of action to make sure we are making the most of our advisory time.
Flexibility on missing school days. We will work with Mr. Smith to understand more about the purpose behind our current student absenteeism expectations at GMS. However, some students agree with missing work when they return from long absences, so we may try to incorporate these methods. We could try to have the teachers pull the students aside and give them a small summary of what the task was and how to do it, or we could give the students more time to do the missing assignments, such as days or 2 days, something like that.
Bathroom times in hallways. We're planning to work with this with Mr. Smith, Ms. Julian, and Ms. Palmer, and the GMS custodians. We believe that that girls' products need to be consistently provided in the bathroom so that we don't have to go to the office and ask for one. We also think that that students struggle to learn how to be respectful, to keep the bathrooms clean, and we would also like to further research the e-hall passes and maybe discuss other ways to move around GMS to make it easier and quicker. To also, as well with helping overcrowding in the halls.
Hello, my name is Violet, and I'm one of the students working on accommodation rooms. We're going to work with our deans and principal to help better the sensory or quiet rooms in our school. We will work on bettering them to make them more accessible throughout the day. Since many people don't know about sensory rooms, we're going to work on teaching people who would benefit from them about them.
We would want to add more fidgets and sensory items. We can also add things for students who need to get their energy out, like a walking pad of some sort. We would also like to have snacks provided so that students who struggle with low blood sugar or anything like that. And after learning more about that, we will give feedback on how we will be able to make GMS a better place for students with accommodations.
We want to work on better representing the PTO. We will work with Mr. Gross, Mr. Smith, and our PTO members to be a part of the leadership discussions. We would help create activities and spend the funds in ways that support everyone at GMS.
The way the Panther leadership team will constantly work to make GMS a positive place for all Panthers.
Some ideas that we are always looking to improve on are Panther branding, making every space in GMS warm and inviting, and making GMS a place where all students are encouraged to make healthy choices.
All right, so I wanted to make sure that all of the names of our students that are part of the Way of the Panther this year are here, even though they couldn't be here with us tonight. But we have a great group of 8th graders who are coming together often. In the last month, we've been together at least once a week, and it's fun for me because I get to listen to great ideas and just watch the magic happen because they're very, very much excited and self-starters on some of the ideas that they're working through so far.
Thank you to we want to thank our School Board of Education, Dr. Glickman, Mrs. Cluck, and the D46 Learning Community.
Thank you for allowing us this time to introduce ourselves and giving us the opportunity to speak about what makes GMS such a wonderful place to be. We look forward to seeing you next time with updates on how the projects are going.
Happy School Board Appreciation Month. We've been learning a little bit more about the volunteer work that you do for our schools and our community, and now we know more about how much time and effort you put into this passion work you do. Thank you for all your time and effort to help our schools be the best they can be for us.
We appreciate you so much.
And I guarantee all of them are ready for any questions that you may have.
What a wonderful, wonderful presentation. Thank you for sharing with us your leadership and the incredibly ambitious schedule that you have in front of you. I'll ask a first question, and I'll pass it along to my colleagues. You've got so many things that are really important to you as young leaders, and one of these days, you might be sitting at a table like this in your future, wherever you find yourself, and I strongly encourage you to do that, to serve in your communities, to run for office, to sit at a board table, and to help make those decisions. And one of the things that I think has been incredibly rewarding over the past couple years is to have the students in these board meetings. And so we appreciate your time here and the family's time for coming to the evening meetings like this. What have you gotten from those leadership discussions? The one thing that I thought was the most interesting was your suggestion of pairing up with the PTOs in the future for like like students working with the PTO leadership for activities. What are some of the things that you've learned about your own leadership style from something like this?
Well, we've learned a lot about what we stand for and what motivates us and how we want to help the community.
Thank you. I'll open it up to my board colleagues.
I don't really have a question for you, but a comment on something that caught my eye as we were sitting here watching you. There's another skill you're learning through this whole process, and that's coming in front of a bunch of people that you don't know and giving a presentation and speaking to us intelligently. You may fumble over your words. Trust me, I've been up on this board for 12 years. Go back and watch some of my mistakes. There's plenty of them. So, okay? Don't worry about it if you flub your words or not. You're learning. You've been able to stand in front of us and give a presentation is a skill that you're going to need for the rest of your life, and you're learning it now. So, congrats.
So literally this morning, a parent texted me. It was the first thing I saw when I picked up my phone getting out of bed, and asked about whether there was a space in the middle school for introverts, for kids who just needed some time to be quiet. So when you brought up the sensory quiet rooms, that caught my ear right away because I have to text her back. So I'm curious, can you tell me a little bit more about that, kind of what it is right now, and then what are you hoping to do with that?
So currently we have 3 sensory rooms in the school, and lots of students use them for movement breaks. Like one of them has ways for students to get their energy out and stuff like that. But another one, I know it has like a comfy couch, and it's a dark, quiet room in the library where students can just take a break. And yeah.
I don't have any questions
Is mine on? Yeah. No questions, but just wanted to really appreciate all of you. Mr. Weedman mentioned a life skill that you're learning about presenting, and I would just like to add, anyone who looks at a situation and thinks about how to make it better and what could be is demonstrating leadership. And so keep on doing that. Keep looking at the current state and thinking about what if, how could it be better? Such an important skill. I love all the ideas and projects you identified and can't wait to hear how they go this year.
So I had a very specific question also about the accommodation rooms. You mentioned that one of the things stopping that from being more widely used was that you don't think that all the student body is aware of them. So I'm wondering, what are the methods, are there existing methods of communicating that to the student body, or do you think that you'll need to create a new method to get the word out on that?
I definitely think that it's going to be something that we need to get the word out for sure, because I know that me personally, I get pulled for testing, but I definitely didn't know about any of those things, any places. Just today, actually, I had a math test where I had to get pulled out from, but there's no teachers who could who pulls us. So me and two other students were told to either go to student services or the library, which are both two very noisy places, which is not very easy to just concentrate at all. So I definitely think that's something that we can get the word out about, to make a different place where we can, a for sure quiet place where we can go, instead of just being like, oh, go to the library, but there could be a class coming in there. So something that's definitely for sure set for us that will be quiet.
Well, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but have you brainstormed any ideas on how you might get the word out to the students? Are we at that point yet, or are we still brainstorming?
We've come up with ideas like posters or having teachers recommend it to students if they think they need it.
Well, I was so excited to hear about all your positive Panther projects, and I was just wondering, I imagine that you had even more ideas. How did you winnow down your list?
So we had a whole document thing that had all the ideas, and then students went to tables of the ideas and chose which one they wanted to do and elaborate more on, and we made groups and worked on a certain thing.
We also decided which ones we think are the most urgent and important decisions that need to be made, and all of our other ideas will happen throughout the school year, but we just evaluated on which ones need the most support right now.
That's another very important leadership skill, so thank you.
Thank you. I don't have a question, students, just a couple of comments. You've blown us away. You're amazing. And I want to share that I was watching you all. I was also watching Mr. Smith. And so you couldn't see Mr. Smith, but I could. They're laughing because they could see him too. So I want to tell you that, first of all, he's had a grin on his face this entire time. He is so proud of you. And also, during the question answering part, he's been kind of doing this little dance where somebody would ask a question, and he'd look at you, and then he'd kind of make a step forward, like, am I going to have to help? But no, not one time did he have to help, because each time one of you came forward with a fully blown, clear, intelligent, thoughtful answer. And then he just smiled some more. So I just want you to know that the work that he's doing with you is definitely one of the favorite parts of his week. He's told me that, and I can see it as well. We are so excited that you're here. We are so excited to be learning from you and with you. So thank you. And we're going to get to have you back 2 more times this year. So that's wonderful. And you had one more thing you wanted to say? Dr. Mack?
Yeah, well, before we move on to the board reports,
Yes.
we are all incredibly impressed, and we look forward to seeing your leadership in the future. Thank you to the parents and the teachers and the community for supporting these young leaders. Thank you for having 3 of them at the board table with us this evening. We're going to get to the board reports momentarily here. You'll have an additional opportunity to speak if you wish. But thank you for everything that you do for our community. So a round of applause for our Way of the Panthers. And after these next 2 sections here, we have cake. So cake is a rare commodity at a board meeting, but it is only a few people get cake every so often. We don't have cake every time, otherwise that would be problematic. So we have cake tonight. So stick around for that. Am I okay to move on to the next?
Yeah, are you going to, I think we're going to reorder some things.
I'm not there yet. Do we need to do that yet? We are going to reorder one item tonight, just so for the benefit of my board colleagues. We're going to move the new business section up to immediately after the consent agenda this evening, okay?
And then we're going to break for cake.
And then we're going to break for cake
Yeah.
after that, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So the board reports are next. I'm going to begin this evening just with a special recognition of somebody in the room this evening. Earlier in the year, we nominated Sue Walker for the Holly Jack Award for Executive Assistance, which is a prominent award for a conference that we attend as board members down in the city beginning this weekend. And while the nomination did not go in the way that we wanted it to go, we are here to honor Sue tonight with a plaque of our own for all of the service that Sue provides to the district, to the families, to the communities, to the students, and especially to us as a board. And so would you please come over this way? And we'll applaud her as she walks up. Congratulations, Sue. None of this would happen without you here with us. That is the only thing that I have to share under the board reports. I will pass it along to my colleagues. We can start down with Ms. Albert tonight.
I just have one quick thing to share. Foundation 46, save the date. Their Barn Fest will be April 26th. Their current grant cycle is open, and the Tom Meskel Award application is also open. That process has started. April 26th, 2025.
Thank you, Ms. Villacroix. Ms. Braden?
No report this evening, thank you.
Mrs. Miller? Mr. Weedman?
Just a quick update. We had our finance committee meeting earlier tonight. I'll push the button. See, even I still mess up. Which gave us our 2024 audit from Baker Tilly. There was nothing of note to worry about in the audit. Everything was on par like we expected. There should be 3 things for you to look at and read over. If you have any questions, it's this guy's question to answer. Chris also went through the 5-year financial projections after the levy, after the limiting rate referendum that we were able to pass. And there are 2 abatement languages that need to be taken, or resolutions that need to be taken care of in February of this year. And those, if you don't have them, we'll make sure we get them to you so you can read over them prior to, so that we can work to abate the taxes like we said for the levy.
Okay, I'd like to turn to our student board members this evening. You are board members this evening?
Not doing a report.
You're not doing a report. I always like to, see, I make mistakes, just like Mr. Weedman. So we're good. Well, thank you for being here again. That brings us then to the superintendent's report. Dr. Glickman.
Thank you. I am doing a report. I would also like to thank Sue Walker so much for her service to our district. Really, Sue, our administrative team, and I personally could not do this without you, so thank you. And also thank you to Leslie Armstrong, because one of the things that Sue sometimes does is order plaques, but we couldn't have her order this plaque. It had to be a surprise. So thank you to
I second that.
Leslie
Thank you.
for taking
Thank you.
care of that. You know that last week we had Veterans Day, and I believe you may have seen some photos about Veterans Day. We had really, really robust assemblies right here at this school and at Park Campus. And then maybe some smaller activities and lessons happening in classrooms throughout the district. So I was really happy later in the week last week to happen to walk into a classroom where the teacher was just starting a lesson with, I believe, her second graders about Veterans Day. So information was being shared throughout the district, and then every child, if they're with us, K-8, does have an opportunity to, have a kind of a robust experience either here at Frederick, if they're a student who goes to one of our 4 elementary schools that goes to Frederick, or at Park Campus. I'm going to hand this over to Amy to talk about report cards and Parent Square.
Yeah, so good evening. As you may know, report cards go home on Friday this week, so they will be live at 3 p.m. Parents and guardians can still access those through Infinite Campus, as they've been able to do in the past. However, we are also going to be sending home PDFs through Parent Square, so parents can open up those PDFs there, just like we did with map reports earlier this week. So we're really excited to be able to have that platform as well to make it a little bit easier for parents to access the report cards.
Thank you, Amy. The next part of the superintendent's report is, starts with a question to our students here. So students, GMS students, raise your hand if you might have experienced something last year where you suddenly left GMS and went to this other strange building. Okay. You might know what I'm talking about. So, as the board has heard, we were really honored recently to have been awarded the Recovery of the Year Award for being able to bring our students back to GMS. So we talk a lot about what it was to leave GMS and to open GMS East, but also we got ourselves back into GMS, and it's beautiful, isn't it? With those gorgeous new floors, beautiful different kinds of lighting in some places, that gorgeous gym, right? So we have a short video to share. Wait, don't start it yet. Hold on. This was a video that was created to be shown when the award was given. And the award was given a few weeks ago at a conference called the Midwest Facility Masters Conference. It is people who are in charge of buildings and grounds, along with business officials in Illinois and Wisconsin and Minnesota. And so we won this award from all of those states, and this was the video that was shown, it's short, don't worry, when the award was being given.
The purpose of the Recovery of the Year Award is to recognize a school district, insurance company, and restoration company that worked in tandem to quickly recover from an incident such as fire, severe weather damage, or flood. CCSD 46 in Grays Lake, Illinois, is being recognized as the recipient of the 2024 Recovery of the Year Award in honor of the district's successful recovery at Grays Lake Middle School following a substantial flooding incident. Congratulations.
During the extreme cold temperatures this past January, at one of our middle schools, boilers failing to fire and rooftop units failing to activate caused broken pipes, broken sprinkler heads, and water damage in the classroom.
Our kitchen, our large gym floor was replaced. And then just various offices, including mine in the front office, that were in need of replacements.
The total claim for the school and for moving all of our students into another building was $2.8 million. Once Scott Gonke from GHA began leading the project and Belfour became involved, we were able to clear those hurdles with a lot more ease.
This project probably would be 4 to 6 weeks, which turned into about 3.5 months. So getting our staff back into our building a week early was fantastic.
We are very proud, extremely proud of our collaboration, our hard work, our tenacity, and our commitment to our community. So it means a great deal to us to be acknowledged for that success.
There are two people I think that are at the meeting here this morning, Scott Gonke and our superintendent, Dr. Lynn Glickman, who are integral in just not only in their talents of understanding what their role is and how to get people involved, but sometimes even just getting out of the way and allowing others to add to the project and the overall design.
I want to thank my partners in the recovery effort who are being acknowledged with this award, but also it is important to know that physical recovery is only part of the story. While our school was recovering, we still had about 600 students who needed a place to learn, and they could not learn in that building. So we are very proud to have moved all of our students and staff members into another space. We did that in 5 short days. And this was a huge effort that included the collaboration of many patient staff members, community members, parents, guardians, and students, all of whom displayed really unbelievable flexibility and generosity during the disaster.
And by the way, some of those staff members are here, so let's give a hand to those staff members. We have a few of them here today. All right, so we have a few plaques to give out. Mr. Smith, you have to come up here, sorry. Hang on. Yeah. Okay, I can't do this all at one time. All right, nope, that's mine. All right, so Mr. Smith, you have 2 plaques. The first one, let's give him that one first. This is for you to hang in your office. Yes. Yeah, yes, I did. Yes. All right. So it's the Recovery of the Year Award. That goes in your office, Mr. Smith. And then we have this one that needs to go somewhere in the GMS office. I think this one's pretty cool. Yeah. And Scott, I think you probably don't have yours with you tonight. Yeah, I have mine. Perhaps when we're taking our little cake break, we can do a few other pictures. Sound okay? All right. Thank you. Thank you, Marcus. All right. And our administration would also like to share some board appreciation. Now, the cake we're going to enjoy later is, in fact, for board appreciation. And I am not going to say this as well as the students did because they were just unbelievable and they took you by surprise. But I still want to thank you on behalf of our administrative team and all of our staff and our families in our school district. We thank you for your time, your trust, your questions, your support, your commitment, your focus, your courage, and perhaps most importantly, your intent. And we know you're not doing it for the cake. You're doing it for all of them. So thank you so much. Really, our appreciation knows no bounds because your efforts seem to know no bounds. Thank you. And yes, that's the end of the superintendent's report.
Thank you so much. That brings us to the consent agenda for this evening. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda for this evening.
I'll move.
Was there a personnel report or no, not today?
Pardon?
There was no other report
No,
today?
no addendum.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
I can second.
Okay.
Braden,
Aye.
LaCroix,
Aye.
Albert,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
and Weedman.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The consent agenda is approved. I am moving the new business up to this point now, and this is a new issue for us to discuss about student fees.
I will take that one. Okay, so we usually present this for board approval, for board discussion in December, for approval in January. So let's just start with that. We've moved it forward a month because We would like to move registration forward, potentially looking at the middle of January. And for that to be facilitated and happen, we need student fees to be approved. So that's the first reason why we're bringing it forward a month. I'm going to do pretty much a read-along, so if each board member of you would pull up your the memo in your board packets, that'd be really easy for me. So the first one we've got is the registration and technology fees. So as the memo states, it was last increased 6 years ago for the 1920 school year. We do have the early bird, which is what we changed last year. So for the first year, for this year of 24-25, you approved recommending the change of the date from July 15th, which it was previously, to May 31st, in order to encourage more families to register as early as possible. So we're only 1 year into that, so we don't want to make any changes to that. We want to make sure that we have more data to bring back to you to show that that is hopefully having its intended consequences. As of the recommendation for the fees themselves, we are recommending that they remain unchanged for the upcoming school year. The next one we have is student extracurricular fees. These are listed in your memo. For the last year, we actually did quite a deep dive into this, I remember. We actually didn't approve them, and we actually came back in May and approved them as a separate actual vote, in which no actual change was made to those fees, but we did look at the actual board policies which were associated with those, but no change was made. Again, we are recommending that the fees remain unchanged for the upcoming school year. Again, the third area of the approval is a preschool tuition-based and transportation. This has been a consistent number. We are recommending that it remains unchanged for the upcoming school year. And finally, facility rental fees. You might recall that we really don't collect a huge amount through this because of the IGAs that we've put in place, both with Round Lake and with Grays Lake Park District. So we are not making any recommendation those fees be changed for the upcoming school year. Any questions from the board?
I'd like to open the questions or comments to the students as well, board members or student board members this evening with respect to student fees. None down there? Colleagues? No questions? Okay.
I only have a comment that the registration and technology fee has been consistent since the 1920 school year. So it's been quite a while since we increased them.
Right.
So.
Right. Not 1920.
Did you say
2019 to 2020.
1920.
100-year-old Chromebooks.
I'm not sure.
There are some old computers we're using now.
I've been here too long.
Perfect.
I just want to make my annual statement, which now actually might have some hope behind it for the future, which is that particularly extracurricular fees, it's long been, I think, the intent of this board to address extracurricular fees so that they can be more affordable for students. Yes, my mic is, Matt, can I have the Mac mic? It's an equity issue when fees are high for extracurriculars, and we know that our GMS principal and Frederick principals are very generous with helping students who can afford the fee, but sometimes students don't want to ask for that waiver, and it keeps them away from participation inadvertently, despite our good intents. And so just want to, for the record, recap that for a few years now, every year when this comes up, we look at it. We look at how much it costs. We look at our budget, and we go, we're severely underfunded and right now cannot take action on reducing those fees. And so this year, although we passed the referendum, We will not see the proceeds from that because we are, as you heard earlier, abating the amount of extra that we levied to pay off the debt. And that was one of the commitments that we made to the community because we have one more year to go on our debt payment. But it would be my hope that a year from now, that we're able to look at those extracurricular fees and think about being able to lower them a bit because we've, able to capture some of those referendum funds that would be able to help us do that. So just a note for next year versus this year.
Go ahead.
Could you please explain what an IGA is?
Oh, there you go. That's you, Mr.
I am
Weldon.
so sorry. I used an acronym. It's an intergovernmental agreement that we're able to enter into with other government partners. So we have two intergovernmental agreements, IGAs, one with the Grayslake Park District, which allows them to use all of our schools, and we don't charge them a fee. And then we also have one with Round Lake for the use of park. So it allows, it's a really nice agreement because it shows the community that we're able to use the park district's able to use our facilities, and we don't nickel and dime them, we don't send them bills, and it's something that the board has approved over the last 3 years. We put those into place, so it's been really good for intergovernmental relations.
I'd like to note too that we also get a benefit from the park district facilities in some cases, right? Our softball teams might play on a field at Central Park or in other ways, yeah.
We have a question from Ms. Keski.
Yeah, sorry. When he said we allow them to use our schools, what do you mean by use them?
Yes, so the park district has a list of what's called permittees. So there are a list of organizations which they're affiliated with, like Grayslake Baseball, and various other organizations in the community. So they're able to use our buildings and our facilities, and we don't charge them anything for that. So it's for the betterment of everybody, and it just is good government relations.
Specifically summer camp, like GMS is Summer Camp Central in the summer. Yeah.
Ms. Sharp? Yep.
Wanted to add that it's a really nice way to make sure that our buildings remain public community buildings, right? That so many people can use in so many ways, even if they're not at that time going to school in our schools.
Ms. Shar?
Are there any specific examples besides sports where they may use our fields or something that Park or Round Lake would use our building for?
Camps for sure.
I mean, it has to be something, where we don't have to worry about materials being disturbed, that kind of thing. I don't know that we have any classroom usage. Mr. Smith, do you think there's any classroom usage happening at GMS? I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. So it's typically large spaces, so more often sports. But it doesn't mean that those spaces couldn't be used for other things. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. The next item on our agenda is cake.
So we're going to do a quick break for cake, and I think we're going to put a note up on our streaming service, letting people know that we're breaking for a little while. Yeah, we're getting that up. All right, sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, thank you. I don't think so. Do you think so? No, I don't think so. No. Do you yeah. Did you get cake? Did you have a piece of cake? Okay, all right. Thank you. Okay, this will give us an opportunity now to move on with the remaining items of this evening's agenda. Let's see. We are on the action items. So this evening's actions, we need a motion to approve the 2024 tax levy in the total amount of $42,651,732. Now I need to go to each of those individual pieces, right? Okay, okay. So the first part of that motion is a motion to approve the certificate of the tax levy.
I'll move. I will second.
Okay.
Weedman,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
No.
Braden,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Nay.
Albert.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next on the list, we need a motion to approve the resolution regarding the amounts necessary to be levied for the year 2024.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Weedman,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
No.
Braden,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Nay.
Albert.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. The next, we need a motion to approve the resolution to levy certain special taxes for special education district IMRF purposes.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay.
Weedman,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
No.
Braden,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Nay.
Albert.
Aye.
Okay, motion is approved. Next, we need a motion to approve the resolution to levy working cash tax.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay.
Weedman,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
No.
Braden,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Nay.
and Albert.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion is approved. The next is the motion to approve the resolution to levy the tort tax.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay.
Weedman,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
No.
Braden,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Nay.
and Albert.
Aye.
Okay, motion is approved. Next, we need a motion to approve the resolution authorizing a supplemental property tax levy to pay the principal of and interest on outstanding limited bonds of the district.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay.
Weedman,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
No.
Braden,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Nay.
and Albert.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion is approved. Next on our action items list is a motion to approve the 2024 district audit as presented to us.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Braden,
Aye.
Albert,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Weedman,
Aye.
Okay, motion approved. Thank you. Next on the action item list is a motion to approve the purchase of chillers at Frederick and Prairie View.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay, Dr. Glickman?
Yeah, I was actually just going to ask Mr. Wildman, can you share with the board why there's just chillers on there and not boilers? Because I think I told the board there would be boilers, and we talked about that recently.
Yes, so that, we've split the purchase of the chillers and the boilers because the chillers can be separately purchased. The boilers need to have a longer lead time, and they'll be part of the bid packet that's actually just been released right now. So I go in?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
cool. I said the wrong thing.
Yeah, the boilers, the chillers need longer lead time, right? So we have to hit it with that and get going, correct?
Yes.
And the boilers will be, don't need quite as much lead time, but are part of the packet that's just gone out, correct, for bidding? Yeah, with the intent for both boilers and chillers to be ready for installation this summer, is that correct? Correct. Okay, got it? Yeah.
Mr. Wildman, this is part of the comprehensive facilities plan then? You just contextualize it in that?
This is part of the final amount of money that we have for year 3 of the capital. So we've presented this to you a couple of times, and we've moved a couple of times. We originally were going to do paving work at various buildings, and then we present it to you as HLS work. And the HLS work has been kind of integrated into the long-range plan, and this is the highest need. So we've identified this as the final, around about $2 million worth we have in remaining capital. So it's the final payment of the 9.2 that we got in February of 22.
That is helpful. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay.
Okay. Albert,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Braden,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
and Weedman.
Aye.
Okay, motion is approved. Next is the motion to approve the sustainability resolution as presented to us. I need a motion.
Can we have a little discussion first?
Yeah.
And Brandon, would you mind pulling up the slide?
Let's do the motion in
move.
second first, yeah.
First?
I'll
Okay.
move.
All right, okay. I'll second.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Do I have my thing? So just as a review, kind of where we're at, because I know we haven't all been at the meetings, so I wanted to make sure everyone was on the same page for what we're asking for. So in the last several meetings, we've taken a look at this tentative sustainability resolution, and you have a copy of that. It was linked in the agenda. And we have a lot of agreement, and so today there's just one little piece, and I wanted to bring it to a vote today because there's a December sustainability meeting at CLC, and if we pass it, then I can take it to this meeting and say, we're looking for members if we approve it with the task force. If we don't want the task force, if we want to leave it off, we can table it tonight and then vote on it in December. So that's kind of the rationale of having it be voted on tonight. But we can table it if we need to revise it. All right, so in terms of review, there's essentially 15 whereas statements. They break down into 3 categories that are listed there. We don't have much, there's nothing to talk about that. We agree on all of that. And then the resolution, the actions, there are 4 of them. The first is to consider an annual report from the Resource Conservation Committee. The second is to include sustainability in the next strategic plan as a key consideration. 3 is to commit to scheduling sustainability updates at regular board meetings, and the 4th is to convene a task force. You'll note that we changed the timing per the recommendations from our staff. So rather than work on it now, we would move it to January and then end in June with a report back to the board after June. So that's what it is. And of course, this is all would move our mission forward, empowering learners, creating equity, and cultivating community, but also it reflects one of our values in particular. So I added our values, and that is the end of the 3rd one. So the 3rd one says we maximize student engagement and develop critical thinking skills that lead to lifelong learning, and here's the emphasis in global thinking. This isn't just about what impacts us, it's actually our part in the bigger world. So the next slide, this is where we have agreement. So we have all 15 statements in the whereas section. We've included intergenerational references. We've been through that, no problems there. The annual report from the Resource Conservation Committee was a good Staff is already doing that, so it just kind of formalizes some of the information into one annual report. The third, we didn't have issues around this either, including sustainability as a key consideration. This is consistent with the process that we used last time with strategic planning. And then within that process, not before, but within that strategic planning process, target goals, actionable targets would be created and implemented afterward. The last one is where we're a little sticky, and there's two pieces to this. So we agree, I haven't heard any resistance to having a task force with those 4 tasks. So this is what we do agree on. The definition of sustainability, we don't have one right now. And identifying potential grants and funding mechanisms, reviewing sustainability policies, and then sharing the findings. The what the task force would do, I haven't heard much or any resistance to that. So this is where we do agree. Next slide, please. The next part is with the task force still. It's kind of when do we have the task force and how will it work? So again, the 4 tasks are listed there on the left. The proposed solution or tactical piece of this is to have a task force meet in January, March, April, and June. We would commit 4 hours of committee time prior to the Board of Education meeting and then 20 minutes at a regular board meeting. So for staff, that's at most 4 hours, and it could just be the 1 hour, 20 minutes, depending on whether they want to be there prior to the Board of Education meeting or just discuss at the Board of Education meeting. My understanding is that staff wants to be there for all of it. And then as far as a board requirement, it would be in the next 6 months, 1 hour and 20 minutes of board time. That's what Jess and I are proposing. Next slide, please. So, is that the next slide? Okay. Huh. All right, so why now? What we're looking at is a little bit of urgency, actually a lot of urgency with climate change. There's an annual or a report that has come out from the World Meteorological Organization. Says that 66%, there is a 66% likelihood that the temperature between 2023 and 2027 will be more than 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial times for at least 1 year. And this is a warning to all of us, and it's that we have limited time. The window is closing. If by 2030, which is the recommendation, we want to reduce emissions enough to prevent some of the worst impacts, we need to do that now. As a reminder, if you're not familiar, 1.5 degrees Celsius is the agreement that 195 global nations agreed is the threshold at which most of us, but not all of us, can avoid the worst and most dangerous impacts. Those impacts specific to this region are extreme heat and cold, which have already cost us quite a bit of money, extreme precipitation, and extreme drought. So this is what it looks like. Next slide, please. What we're asking isn't a deal breaker. We can go either way. We would hate to not pass this resolution on this one point. So we can table it, but this is why this would be the impact. If we initiate the task force as pre-work to strategic planning, we would do the pre-work in 2025. Again, that's coming up with a definition of sustainability, looking at policy work, the landscape, and looking at the funding landscape. Start strategic planning in 2026. And then in 2026, let's say at the best case, that's in January, we would establish targets and start working on those. So we wouldn't see those results. The emissions actually wouldn't reduce until 2027. We also would lose out on any savings that we could generate from those targets and avoid any crisis reactions. So as opposed to if we do, I'm not sure I said that very well. Can I back up? Thank you. If we initiate the task force as pre-work, then we can do the pre-work in 2025, strategic plan in 2026, and then start seeing some of the impacts in 2027. That's what I'm trying to say. I think I'm mixing two graphics in my speech. Did I say that better that time? Okay, thank you. If we initiate the task force as post-strategic planning work, then we do the 2026 strategic planning, and then we start the work on defining sustainability, looking at the policy landscape, and looking at the funding landscape. And then it pushes any impacts back a year. So again, this is not a make or break the resolution. We can table this if we need to revise it. However, Jess, if think I'm speaking for both of us, our recommendation is that we incorporate the task force as pre-work. And then the last slide, just something else to consider. The image on the left comes from the United Nations GAP emissions report in 2024. And what that tells us is where we're falling short of some of the agreements, significant increases or significant contributions for power, for transportation, food waste and solid waste in general, land use. All of those things are categories of emissions that schools have a lot of impact on. We can make a big difference, and we already are. And then schools engage multiple stakeholders in a community. And so the more we get people working together as schools, if we start doing this, it bleeds out into our kids. They want to reduce waste, and then also our families. So we could make a pretty significant impact on these emissions if we can come together under one umbrella and work together through a sustainability resolution and then also through a policy. And I think there's a few other reasons, but I'll just pause there. Thank you, Brandon. I'm hoping that catches everyone up on what we're proposing. And again, the only thing we kind of need to work out is whether the task force would be pre-work or an outcome of strategic planning.
Any questions or comments from other board members?
Christy, can you remind me, one of the resolutions is that the board will consider an annual report from the Resource Conservation Committee.
Yeah.
Explain that a little bit. Are you saying that we would consider the ideas and output from this outside body in how we make decisions, or are you saying that report would be something that the task force produces? I'm not clear on that.
The task force would not report it, but I think Dr. Glickman would.
Yeah, I might be able to help with that one. So the Resource Conservation Committee is a district committee that's already in place. It's an outgrowth of our resource conservation policy, and we actually have started doing an annual report. We did one last, maybe May. So when Christy brought that up, I was like, well, we're doing that. So, yeah.
I just wanted to share a little bit more about why I support this. And it comes from two main points. One, with it, we send a clear message to our potential partners, our already contracted vendors, that we as a district are serious about sustainability, and it contributes to that narrative that we've already developed over the years. And two, we show our students and community that we really care about the future. And so if I may elaborate on both of those points real quick, by sending that clear, important message to our many contracted vendors, we continue, they may want to work with us more about being serious about sustainability. If we look at Organic Life, Durham, some of our O&M Energy Star purchases and the solar panel arrays, for example, we've already communicated and demonstrated a desire to create less waste, create less pollution, and consume less energy. And sometimes that can lead to more fruitful partnerships with those partners we already have. And then second, we as a school district can become a leading example and show that school systems, buildings, and school district operations have a large role to play in addressing biodiversity loss, pollution, and global warming. These are massive interconnected problems that challenge our whole global society, but we can make a local impact. And it is our duty, I feel, to the students who were sitting with us at the table and to the children in our community to acknowledge as a district what science has shown us. And then I do agree with having the task force begin work a little earlier because it is urgent. Not in the sense that the sky is going to fall on us immediately if we don't start doing something, but in the sense that it will be easier as a society to start adapting and lessening the impacts that these challenges are bringing us.
As you know, I agree with everything that everyone said. If I can't support the task force at this time for the reasons I've already stated, if I'm the only no vote, then I would say let's bring it for a vote tonight, and then you can pass it. But that's where I am.
I agree we have to look at sustainability, but I also want to make sure we're not taking away from our primary responsibility is educating the children and not taking the resources away in staff from being able to do that. Or taking away the resources and dollars to do that. Because of the cost of doing some of this is greater than the cost of not doing it. And don't have the funds to be able to educate the kids. We're kind of defeating some of the purpose. You and I have gone round and round about this before. It's nothing new that you and I haven't talked about. As far as the task force goes, I don't know if we need a meeting, 20-minute presentation every month for it, quarterly maybe, or every every 6 months maybe. But I don't know if it's a every month grabbing a report. I'd rather see us table this so we can maybe discuss working through that as it goes. But my concern is how much staff time is going to be eaten up with dealing with this over time, right? They're already overworked and got their hands full with everything that goes on in our schools, and we keep dumping more things onto them. It becomes a jack of all trades and a master of nothing, right? So I have a little heartburn with it. I agree with it. I just have a heartburn of making it have to do it. Does that make sense?
No, to me it doesn't, because the resolution doesn't commit us to expenditures or.
Well, in a roundabout way,
understand.
and the way I look at it, in a roundabout way, it does, right? We're committing to doing all these, not looking at our policies, but looking at what we buy, looking at our partnerships for contractors that come in and do the work, and all those other things. In the long run, there is a dollar amount that gets spent with that. If we have to pay 25% more for a certain flooring because it's more eco-friendly, then we're spending more money for dollars in flooring that we may or may not need to get. And that's where that's where I start having some heartburn, is if we have to buy specialty stuff just to make us eco-friendly and do our part in the environment, which, believe me, I'm all for doing our part in the environment. A little disappointed on the bus thing that doesn't seem to be happening, but my problem is we already have limited dollars, and if we have to spend more to get some of this stuff done, that's where my heartburn is.
And just to be clear, we're just talking about the sustainability resolution right now. So any of those targets would come out of what you're talking in terms of what we pay specialty items or any of the targets would happen as part of strategic planning. So the resolution is just that we're going to take a look at what are the policies and what are the funding mechanisms and what do we mean by sustainability.
Ms. Braden?
So, it's vote however you want. I'm just making sure that there's a distinction between the targets and what we're spending even with that, I think our conversation right now is highlighting that we're not talking about the same thing when we're talking about sustainability. So
If
the
I were
resolution is
to
just
have to
those
vote on
focus.
this the way it is tonight, I would have to vote no.
Okay.
I would just add to that, that we're also, I think, creating the impression that the school district isn't doing anything. I mean, we just got a great email today about some really, really great news about the amount of waste that's not going into our landfill. And so we're doing great stuff without a task force. And so to me, the urgency of it is lessened by the fact that I know that every single administrator at this table, when they are looking at contracts and they're looking at materials and they're looking at ways to do things, they are looking at how to do it sustainably. And we have seen those efforts already. And I just don't see how a task force is going to move us further along, that it's going to do anything except distract people who are already very busy and who now, on top of everything else, have to figure out how our district survives a WWE executive as Secretary of Education. To me, it places sustainability higher. This emphasis of all of a sudden we're going to have a task force and special meetings places sustainability above some of the really core things that I think this administration is going to have to deal with, and I don't want them to be distracted. I want them to keep doing great sustainability work day to day, which they're already doing, and then I want them to be undistracted by a task force that doesn't seem to have an output that's really going to matter right now, so that they have time and energy to spend on some really fundamental challenges that I think are going to be happening, especially over the next year or two.
So removing the task force and just looking at the tentative resolution, where do we as a board stand? And I would ask, I also wonder, we have spent a few meetings on this, but not everybody was at the meetings, and I'm not asking this I don't mean to be snarky. I really don't. I just wonder, for those of us who weren't at the meetings, did everybody have a chance to watch the discussion that happened and understand fully what we're talking about? Because we continue to share a disagreement about what sustainability is. And so I would love for us to actually have had the conversations and commitment to the meetings that we started in the spring.
So the way I look at it, and I would remind the board too that this is a resolution, once again, right? So it is a non-binding, conversation between us, and I see it as another lens through which we look through the types of decisions we make. I think it's an important, a critical lens too with the current administration on its way in, because we are going to face some major issues, not just with the Department of Education, but with other aspects of our society. Pretty much every aspect of our society is going to be drastically altered in the next 2 months. So I don't have any, I've talked about this at length with many of you. I don't have any problem with the way that it stands at this moment. I don't see a resolution as something that is going to be restrictive of the continuing conversations that we already have to support the administration doing what they're already having, to give us an additional lens to look through some of these things. It doesn't mean that we have to vote for more expensive flooring, right? It means that we have some of the resources to be able to have those conversations. One thing that I've always appreciated about this board, significantly appreciated about this board, is we have very intentional conversations about these things, and we come to these board meetings with the various lenses. We have an equity lens, we have a financial lens, we have a sustainability lens, we have teachers on this board who come in from an education lens, and none of those things ever restrict us from voting one way or another. I mean, you had 2 board members tonight vote no on the tax levy. Right? That's the first time that's happened in my recollection, but we had open conversations about why we did that. I feel that resolutions allow us to have those conversations. And if we feel that we're restricting the staff or overburdening the staff, then we come to this table and we have conversations about it. And we say, we're not doing the right thing, we need to pull back, or whatever the case may be, right? So that's where I land with that, for what it's worth.
I mean, I might benefit from a small recap about what it is that this binds us to. It doesn't bind us to much. You're not asking for anyone in particular from the staff or administration to serve on this task force. We're not preemptively deciding any procurement decisions or anything else. If it gets to the point, I don't know, I don't see the harm in adopting this. And if it gets to the point where, you know, every month that this, maybe that's too often to meet, I'm not sure, or it's too often to hear about this topic, maybe we scale that back. That timeline is not or the schedule is just, it's a line in the sand. It's not a guaranteed thing that you need to do. Is there anything else I'm missing here? I mean, any reason that this doesn't bind us to anything? It's just an expression, basically.
The only thing I think it binds the board to, and please forgive me if I'm wrong, is to creating actionable targets by 2026. So it is, right, the strategic planning process. So it sounds to me like if the board approves this resolution, you are agreeing that you'll have actionable targets regarding sustainability in the next strategic plan.
That's correct.
Okay, so I just wanted to put that out there, that I understand to be a commitment.
Well, and to the extent that that's a commitment, and we're bound to develop actionable targets, if you remove that clause and just leave it to say include sustainability as a key consideration through that planning process, then I'm better with this. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, because it might be that in consideration of all the things that we're thinking about at the strategic plan, that might not be, we may choose not to develop actionable targets that cost money that we need to spend elsewhere, or for instance. Not that this isn't important, but rather, you know, we don't want to say, well, we have to do it because it was in that resolution, although I don't even know how legally binding that is, but.
I mean, I would imagine you could do a resolution to unbind you from that too, I guess, but if that becomes a problem, I mean.
So we need to decide if we're going to table it or vote on it, right?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, can we just do a, like,
Well, we have a motion and a second, so, I mean, I would think we should vote on it this evening.
I think we should, I need to know if I'm going to, or if Jess and I need to know if we're going to revise it by removing the task force. So I think if we need to remove the task force, then we would want to table it. If we're going to pass it, then we can pass it. So I guess, can we do thumbs?
Can we revise them? I mean, if we need, I don't personally think we need to remove that. But that's
I would
me.
just say, if, like I said, if you've got the votes, then let's do the vote, and then it'll pass, and then it'll.
Unless we remove the actionable items, that's not part of that was a separate statement, right? If that date.
It's the second to last statement above logistics. Includes sustainability as a key consideration in the next strategic plan, and through that planning process, develop actionable targets by 2026.
I mean, I can revise the motion to strike that.
That's unfortunate.
You could table the whole thing then. Table the whole resolution.
Can we spend 2 minutes just talking about actionable targets? Is there a way that we can make that, include it and make it still palatable?
To make it palatable?
Yeah, because it doesn't mean that we have to have a bazillion of them. And it depends on what sustainability is. I think sometimes we talk about sustainability as an extra cost because we associate it with solar panels, but I think the definition that we're going to come to is something that's cost effective and benefits people and benefits the planet. So if something is not cost effective, if it's not in our budget, we wouldn't
We would
make
have that
a target.
conversation,
Yeah,
right.
we wouldn't make that a target.
Right.
So I'd like to keep the actionable targets, knowing that those targets would have to move through all 3 filters before they were adopted.
And by 3 filters, you mean financial,
Yes.
social, and ecological, just like the paper example that we gave at the last meeting.
Yes.
We can't, the recycled paper just isn't cost effective, so.
So I think we're at the point where, I guess I'm just curious, if we have 4 votes for it, we can pass it as it is. If we do not have 4 votes for it, then we can revise it again and come back to it. So I don't know how to make that decision. I know, Christy, you're a no. Jim, I think you're a no. Stephen, I think you're a yes. Jason, I'm not sure about you. Jess and I are both yeses, so.
Can't you vote on it and still bring it back?
You can still vote on it. I mean, we can vote on it
And then bring it back?
and bring it back. Again, it's a resolution, so it's
Okay.
malleable
Okay.
and flexible.
Okay.
Right.
If you're going to vote before you vote, I just want to point out a very tiny typo that would have to just be adjusted. Regarding the task force updates, it should say between January 2025 and June 2025. So, yeah.
I think that was on the slide too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, okay. Okay, we do have a motion and a second already? Okay, yeah. All right.
Mack,
Aye.
Braden,
No.
Albert,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
No.
Weedman.
Okay, thank you. The motion passes. Okay. One more. I need a motion to approve the termination of employment for Irina Akushenka as a probationary employee of the school district effective immediately.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay.
Miller,
Aye.
Albert,
Aye.
Braden,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Weedman,
Aye.
and LaCroy.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. We have no unfinished business. We already did the new business, so we have topics for future agenda items.
Yes, one moment. All right. December 11th, we'll do the student fees action and the DMG opportunity review action update. Dr. Lorenzo will do this for us. January 15th, it'll be a new year. And Amy Gluck will do a data review for us, student data, yeah. We'll be doing a media center enhancements update. And I just kind of penciled in, perhaps at that date, we'll do a deeper dive into CEDAW costs for you. Not sure if we'll do it that one or maybe later in January, but based on the conversation we were having at the Finance Committee meeting, it seemed like the board had an appetite for getting more information about that. So we'll do that January, February. January 29th, our GMS students will be back. Excited for that. And then again, just to pencil in, at our last meeting, a board member asked about, probably early in the upcoming year, in the 2025 school year, a conversation at the board table about bringing on a search firm for the superintendent search. So I put that on January 29th, not knowing for sure if that's the right date. And then there's lots more later in the spring that we went over last time.
This wouldn't necessarily be an agenda item, but board think about, we usually do it as board reports, but reporting out on our III experiences.
Yes, yes.
I
Yeah.
think the 11th
Yes.
might be, given the holiday coming up, might be
A good one.
sooner than we normally do. No, you're misreading me. Sooner than we normally do. I'm
Sorry.
open to suggestions, though. Not that it might get any better by the time, Christmas rolls around and New Year's, but I would propose that we do it in the January meeting. But maybe we don't even need to do it all at the same meeting.
We'll figure it out. January
Well,
probably,
yeah,
is
wait,
good.
what-
January's probably good.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to
Okay.
decide
I
right
agree.
now, just something to think
I
about.
agree.
So probably January 15th? Yep.
Okay. Do we have any public comments? We do have a closed session this evening, so I need to read this. We are going to be moving into closed session. We do not anticipate any business coming out of the closed session, so we will adjourn directly from that session. I need a motion to go into closed session in accordance with Illinois Public Act 5 ILCS 120/2C1, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body, or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body, or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity, and in accordance with Illinois Public Act 5 ILCS 120/2C2, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay?
LaCroy,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye?
Albert,
Aye.
Weedman,
Aye.
and Braden.
Aye.
Okay, thank you everybody for coming this evening, and enjoy the rest of your night.